Carl Jung said, "Awaken and shine your light for others to follow. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This is an invitation to move differently in the world, to operate from a place of deep knowing and alignment. I'm Adrienne McDonald, and welcome to the Source Code Podcast. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time. Grab a tasty beverage and settle in. Today, I want to talk about having a conversation that I don't think enough people are having, and this is around functional burnout. Now, you may not even realize that you're experiencing it because it doesn't look like the stereotypical version of burnout where you just collapse and can't function. And I really think that functional burnout is much more pervasive in our modern world. Instead, this looks like burnout that sneaks in disguised as productivity and over time slowly erodes your passion, your energy, and your well-being. We're also in the sun transit of human design gate 30, which is known as the clinging fire. It's the feelings, and I thought we could explore how the cycles of emotional highs and lows and desires and expectations all tie into this topic. Now, most of us think of burning out as hitting a wall, complete exhaustion, inability to function, and needing like a full system reboot. But functional burnout is different. It is when you are still getting shit done. You're still showing up, but it's costing you. You're operating on fumes. You feel like you've been operating on fumes for quite some time. You feel drained, but you continue to push, and everything looks fine on the outside. And let's be honest, high achievers, I'm looking at you. And, those people that have strong feelings of responsibility, those of us who thrive on deep inner work are especially susceptible to this because, people are counting on us. The symptoms might be you feel emotionally and mentally exhausted, but you keep pushing through. Like I said, you're going through the motions, but you don't really feel engaged and you don't feel joy. You struggle with decision making. You're second guessing yourself constantly, and you're telling yourself you're fine when ignoring all of your body's subtle or not so subtle signals. And over time, you start to resent things that you once loved. And I get this on a deep level because when I was in corporate especially, I kept pushing even though I knew I was depleted. I kept showing up. I kept telling myself I had to keep going, that I had to deliver, that I had to be the one holding it all together. And if you looked at my reviews over the years, they were always exceeding expectation, or outstanding, etc., year after year after year, until I couldn't do it anymore. And it wasn't that I got to the point where it was like I collapsed. Even at the very end, I didn't collapse. There was just like this epiphany moment where I'm like, I'm done. And I see this same pattern play out for so many people. And whether they're in corporate or entrepreneurship or spiritual work. And this isn't just in your professional life. This is I did the same thing in my relationships. Functional burnout doesn't just drain you physically, it erodes your trust in yourself. Because deep down, you know something isn't right, but you keep overriding it. So when I was thinking about this episode, I was like, okay, so why talk about this now? And The sun, like I said, is in Human Design Gate 30. And this is also known as the gate of feelings and desire. And it's a pretty emotionally intense gate in the system because it holds that deep well of longing and dreams and of emotional energy. But it also carries that shadow of attachment, especially attachment to specific outcomes. And that's where really a trap of functional burnout comes in. So Gate 30 has this deep yearning for meaningful experiences. But when we attach too tightly to how something should unfold, when we want to control, we set up ourselves for exhaustion and disappointment. And functional burnout often stems from trying to force things to work out in a very specific way, whether it's a career path, a business goal, personal transformation journey, relationship, etc. The more we cling to those types of expectations, the more we twist ourselves trying to meet some other external expectations, the more we do that and we cling and we resist adapting to what's actually happening and seeing the truth in things, the worse it gets. And I think that Gate 30's shadow can sometimes keep us locked in that cycle of burnout because we feel like we have to keep pushing towards something even when it's draining us. We confuse persistence with alignment. We mistake exhaustion for commitment. And I think the power of this gate is around the ability to surrender to the experience itself rather being attached to a specific outcome. When we shift from expectation to an appreciation for the journey, but also that way I think that we can see situations for what they are versus what we want them to be. I know that I probably should have left my last corporate job probably about 5 years before I actually did. And I think that when we don't have that attachment to the outcome, we can allow ourselves to move through life and let something go when its season has ended with a lot more grace. That emotional resilience doesn't mean numbing ourselves or ignoring our desires. It means trusting what is meant for us will unfold in the right time without forcing things, without controlling things. And this is where we can reclaim our energy. Instead of letting desire and expectation run the show, this is about the co-creation of listening to where our soul wants to lead us instead of trying to meet what the world wants us to be. I feel like people pleasers are also really bad about getting into that cycle as well. Now, when we look at burnout from the lens of the different human design types, they look a little differently. So generators and manifesting generators, burnout may be saying yes too often, overcommitting, responding to obligations instead of like really true desire. And if you look at that and then take a healing approach of pausing before responding, check in with your sacral response. Does it feel expansive? Does it feel exciting? Or is it draining? Is it heavy? You got to honor your gut instincts. Projectors could be overgiving, working against your natural energy rhythms, feeling like you got to prove your worth and keep up with everybody else, taxing yourself. And a healing approach could be prioritizing rest, stepping back from doing and embrace guiding instead, letting yourself being invited into spaces where your wisdom is valued instead of forcing your way in. Manifestors, initiating too much without rest, pushing through resistance, ignoring signs of depletion. And a healing approach could be working in creative bursts and then resting, following the pulse of inspiration and not forcing the action when the energy isn't there. And reflectors, absorbing too much energy from others, feeling pressure to keep up, struggling with boundaries. Those are all burnout signs. Healing approach, you need your alone time. You need to detox from that external energy. You need to honor your natural cycles with decision makings that feel right for you. Now, when we're looking at profile lines, line 1, you may have burnout from over-researching, feeling like you have to know everything before taking action. And a solution perhaps is allow yourself to integrate the knowledge rather than over-consuming. Remember that wisdom lives in the body, and integration is part of that process. And line 2, burnout from being pulled into things that you're not meant to do. And a solution is own your natural gifts and set clear boundaries around how you share them. Remember, that's a projection profile line, so sometimes you have to say no. Line 3, burnout from trial and error, feeling like failure is a personal flaw. You got to reframe your mistakes if you're a line 3 as, okay, I tried that, what did I learn? Because reframing mistakes as wisdom gained, every wrong step is part of your process. That is just what life as a 3 is. Line 4, burnout from over-giving to your network. Always being the go-to person there to pull everybody together. And the solution is be intentional about being able to receive. It's a two-way street, and your energy needs to be nourished too. Line 5, burnout from carrying others' expectations and projections. I am a line 5. I know this one well. I've talked about it in past podcasts about being Mighty Mouse. Want to go in there and save the day. Not here to save the day every day. You got to own your own true path instead of trying to be everything to everyone. And line 6, burnout from feeling pressure to be wise before you're ready. You got to honor the phase of your journey and trust that clarity comes with time. And that's a constant evolution for a 6. So when we sit here and look at overall practical ways for everyone to start shifting out of dysfunctional burnout and into a healthier relationship with our energy, here are 5 things to consider. Recognize when you're forcing things. Ask yourself, where am I pushing, even when my body and my intuition are telling me to pause? And you got to be really honest about that. You got to get curious. Number 2, redefine commitment. True commitment does not mean running yourself into the ground. It means honoring your capacity and trusting that rest is part of the process. Number 3, practicing emotional awareness. Instead of suppressing emotions, process them, observe them. Gate 30 is about feeling deeply, so let yourself process and don't get attached to the highs or lows. You don't have to ruminate. Just let them process. Number 4, releasing expectation and focusing on intention. Can you shift from needing a specific outcome? Can you shift from that need to control to being open to the best possible unfolding? And number 5, rest as an act of trust. Your worth is not measured by how much you produce. I know that is what, it's a hard thing to realize given how we celebrate I'm working all these hours and I pulled an all-nighter and all that type of crap. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is rest and recalibrate, and that is the damn truth. Now, if you're resonating with this, I really encourage you to reflect on how this gate 30 transit is showing up for you. Like, where are you feeling this type of energy in your body? Where may expectations be leading you into burnout? And where are you forcing control? I have been reading a lot of James Hollis of late, and he has said to people in his care, this is not about curing you because you're not a disease, you're a process. This is about making your life more interesting to you, a life full of adventure, a life full of daily choices that create and express your values. And I've been thinking about this a lot. I believe that a significant amount of frustration and functional burnout comes from not listening to our inner compass, from not trusting ourselves and operating out of fear and a need to control because we're operating out of fear. And he also had a passage in his book, A Life of Meaning, that I thought was really good. It said the spirit of evil is negative of the life force by fear. Only boldness can deliver us from fear. If the risk is not taken, the meaning of life is violated. Because then we have to ask ourselves who or what we are serving when we serve fear and anxiety. When we serve fear or anxiety only, we inevitably will also suffer neurosis, the psyche's response to diminishment or neglect. And neurosis is a kind of ugly term that came from an 18th century physician by the name of William Cullen. What neurosis really means is a conflict between the world around us, our own nature trying to express itself, and alternatively, all of our adaptive systems trying to work these things out. The ego is a nervous creature running back and forth trying to keep the world happy and the soul happy. And in my experience, that's not sustainable. And in fact, I think that really that one sentence sums up functional burnout. The ego is a nervous creature running back and forth trying to keep the world happy and the soul happy. I think and I feel that the soul's call is just going to get louder if you're doing that. The universe is always giving us an opportunity to course correct. And one of the reasons why I like working with systems like human design is because it can give you some insight, a place to start, somewhere to start digging into finding what the soul is trying to tell you. Hollis reminds us that something inside of you knows what it wants, and the rest of you has to be summoned, mobilized to serve that as best you can. Where we refuse to grow up or waiting for complete clarity and information before making decisions, or waiting for someone to show up and tell us what to do, that's deferred authority. That is eroding self-trust. When you have the self-trust, the courage gets stronger. So that is your food for thought this week. And if this conversation intrigues you, I'd love to hear some of your reflections. You can DM me on Instagram or reply to one of my Facebook posts. And if you have not already, please grab my free human design deconditioning guide, because it's packed with insights to help you break free from these energy draining patterns and step into a more natural flow. So remember to find beauty every day and seek the magic in the mundane. Thank you for listening to the Source Code Podcast. If you found this episode insightful and feel moved to, please leave a review and share it out with those you believe will find it helpful. You can check out my website for more information at www.adrianmcdonald.com. And for more of my more regular musings, connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. I hope you have a beautiful week.